you know, being a CEO is so glamorous and I have a jet.
Yes, ready to go.
Where is it?
And it's all about be authentic, be yourself, and it's...
I didn't step into authentic confidence until after a while. I started wearing ties like an idiot. Yeah, it's like, what the hell, man? What did I do in my last life, you know?
But speaking of property, you know, I have a manifestation situation happening. So last year, 2023, forget where the years are. 2023, there was an ad that popped up on my social media for Monaghan development. And I was like, I made a joke about it on Instagram. I was like, how funny would it be if I went to this, because it needed like a qualifying thing to come and view. Well, I assumed that. Didn't initially say that, but it was like starting from 5 million. I was like, oh, this is one of those viewings that are like, I need to send a payslip or a banker. So I sign up. 3 days later, I get a call from the estate agent. Hi, Shaman, just wanted to make sure you're RSVP'd, you're coming to view. I'm like, I'm in it. And I've documented the journey on Instagram. I was like, guys, she responded. She doesn't want a pay slip. I'm going. What do I wear? How do I show up? What am I gonna do? Guys, I drive a Hyundai. Do I need to take an Uber Black? She's gonna see the Hyundai. No, I can't afford this 5 million rand house. What is good? And people like, just go. Do what you need to do, just go. And I was like, you know what? Real wealth is silent. I'm gonna show up in my Hyundai, but I'm gonna be wearing boots. I wore all black. I wore my longest weave. And I was like, I'm gonna walk in there looking like money, like I can afford.
And I'm sure you were twanging for the guards.
Listen, I rolled up in there in my Hyundai and I was like, yeah. And she greeted me at the door, and they weren't built yet, but there was like a show house and everything. And I was just like, and now it's a thing, because ever since then, they added me to like their luxury portfolio database. So now I'm always like, should I go to this viewing and test it out?
Yes, manifest.
But it's manifesting. So from that day, I came up with the sort of a logo for my vision board, and I call it Monaghan Dreams. Because I'm always like, I'm gonna live here. I don't know when. And shortly after that, I met Donald Kumala, the interior designer.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'm gonna own a house in Monaghan, and I'm gonna call you.
You'll be my first call.
You'll be my first call, Donald. While they're still building, you and I, we're drawing. So I'm absolutely at that place in my life where I've just fallen in love in property, because I actually used to work at Choreographed at some point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before
Your first job, wasn't it?
My first job, yeah, out of school, because I couldn't find a job. And I worked at Choreographed in Fourways Mall, and I fell in love with like interior design, and sort of that passion sort of grew into those
That's such a
things.
big part of property.
Yes.
The interiors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can walk into a home and it's just brick and mortar, but with the interior and the life within, it's, you know, that creates the memories and the treasured possessions and all of that.
But it also creates sort of like the dream of this is what my home can
Yes,
look
you want
like.
to
Yes.
envision yourself
An
in
aspirational
this
dream.
space.
Exactly.
Look at me with my champagne.
Because I always think that people sell houses. I always get so annoyed because I love going on houses on Property 24, and you just see where could I live. Oh, if I move to Cape Town.
You mean you love going on our website before Property 24?
Directly to the source, darling.
And then I always get annoyed when people have these beautiful homes, but the decor's crap, or the bed is not made, or the...
How did you allow this picture to be taken? I don't like this kitchen. I would redo this. That time you can't afford, you have 0 in your bank account.
Like, you're just looking, but you want to tell people how they
live.
Yellow.
No, my best is when there's actual photographs on the listings. And, you know, you go to these websites and you see like the toilet roll and the toilet seat lifted up, and you just think, who actually home staged this? Because that's what a property professional is supposed to do.
Yeah,
the devil's in the detail.
Because it's the perception of hygiene and... Yeah.
We are getting the ins and the outs, as you can hear, about people's dreams, like Shaz living in a 5-10 million rand property, and the what to look out for details from the property mogul herself, Yael Geffen, CEO Lou Geffen Sothebys, and we've got my good friend Jolene Roelofse, who works with, I guess you work with dreams, because you head up an influencer agency.
Yes.
That's dreams, isn't it?
That is dreams. More aspirations.
Aspirations, yeah.
Aspirations, yeah. Like we always
Within reach.
Within reach, yeah. But that's always like a bit of a problem. I had a chat with my team the other day. So they're quite young, right? And I had a bit of a conscious moment where I was like, are we selling dreams that are achievable, or are we selling
Delulu.
Yes.
Oh, delusion.
You know, because what some of these, you know, and there's a saying, don't always believe what you see on social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like no one's
most of
going to
the time.
post. Literally most of the time, because no one's going to post like, oh, I'm having such a bad day and everything's going wrong and I just got fired from my job.
My debit order just bounced, guys.
they're not
need to log off. I'm on
And
my
it does
last
a lot of
bundle.
people actually, as soon as influencers want to be honest and be vulnerable, a lot of people are quick to comment and say, this is not the place for it. Or
we knew it. You're living a fake life.
I knew it.
But you know
Things
what?
can't go that far.
I'm so keen to know, actually, and I'm stealing, you know, your guys' job here. But like, what makes an influencer? Because, you know, people on social media call themselves influencers all the time, and I roll my eyes. I roll my eyes, and then I think to myself, okay, well, I influenced my son to eat fiber this morning.
I'm an influencer.
Does that make me an influencer?
You're an influencer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like you get people just relying on this term, influencer, but then there's real influencers, you know.
Without who don't necessarily have the following.
Exactly.
But they're influential.
Yeah.
So it's a term that was adopted by people who post online, right? And it's from the term of when you have influence. It's exactly, you have influence on a number of people in your life, right? The people who work with you, family members, your son, etc. And it's up to you as to where you then showcase that influence, right?
Where do I channel it into?
Where do I channel it into? Because what has happened over the years is that we've gone from reading the newspaper to reading things online. Yeah. Right? And who are the people that's going to give you all of that information online? And it's normally influencers, but it's more than just influencers. It's musicians, it's poets, it's, you know, it's now what we've coined it now as content creators. Yes. But an influencer is also a content creator. Yes. It's anybody that digitally tells a story or relays information.
And I think it's actually, you know, people that believe in them, or people that have formed certain opinions about them, or people that I see you and I immediately assume, because that's where your story about, you know, going to view properties started. Like, you know, I assumed that I'd need to be this, I'd be that.
Yeah, I just thought my algorithm is great. I'm getting 5 million houses on my feed.
Let me go. And they really, but that speaks, I want to speak to you, Yael, because, I mean, you're an influencer. And I'll tell you why I say that.
But I don't have this 100,000 rand following. 100,000 people following.
Let me tell you, so you and I met at a speaker showcase. We both belong to the speaking agency.
Yes.
And when I saw your name, your surname, your bio, I immediately made assumptions about you.
And then I'm wearing pink.
And then that is, and if you, with your background, I made assumptions that Yael Geffen, the daughter of Lou Geffen, CEO of Lou Geffen Sothebys, if she said to me tomorrow, guys, Tembisa is the next property hotspot, I will gather what I have and I'd be in Tembisa. That is influence. Yeah. So it's people's perceptions and their readiness to act on what you say. But having known you now for a year, I know that hasn't always worked in your favor.
Right. It hasn't. It really hasn't. So, I mean, I grew up in a real estate dynasty, 3 generations. So I'm the third for my sins. I don't know what I did in my last life, but anyway. But, you know, and there's certain expectations that you have from other people and assumptions, like you say, and that I was Lou Geffen, that I am Lou Geffen's daughter. Yeah. And the reality of it is people don't really give you a chance to show yourself, to show your light because of these assumptions. So you've known me for a year and we've had some very candid, heartfelt, courageous conversations. But from an assumption of a person, you don't get that. And growing up in this like family dynasty, I didn't have my own identity. I mean,
You were in the shadow almost.
yeah, you feel like you're in the shadow, and I was always referred to as Lou Geffen's daughter.
Oh.
And then I said to my father one day, you know, one day you're going to be referred to as Yael Geffen's father.
Yes, honey. I'm going to flip the script.
But, you know, it was funny. I mean, from a young age, you must understand, you see real estate boards on the pavements, pounding the pavements of your father. And my grandmother was Aida Geffen.
Yeah, the red and white. Is it red
Yes,
and the
yes,
AIDA?
yes,
Like when you said it, I was like, who's that? And then I Googled and I was like, oh my gosh, you used to see these all the time on a Sunday. Yes.
Yeah, so the one day I even remember getting lost and I started following my father's signage and I thought I'd find him and I didn't. So I landed up, you know, at some home like, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds really bad. It sounds like I was just wandering the streets, but I wasn't. But yeah, there was a lot of pressure and I felt like I didn't know who I was, and that's why at the age of 22 I decided there's got to be more. I need to find out who Yael is.
Without this empire,
and I decided to move to the hardest city in the world, New York City.
Love it. Big Apple.
That's still my home. That's still my home. And the moment I arrive, it's quite funny what I do. So firstly, I'm smiling from ear to ear.
We see it.
And then I go to the first cop that I see, and I pretend I don't know where I'm going. Oh, wow. And hopefully they have Brooklyn accents. And I say to them, sorry, I'm going here and here and here. And all I want to hear is, well, you turn the corner, then you pass the coffee shop. They also sell some oranges there, you know. And I was just like, I think to myself, oh, I love this.
My movie dreams have come true.
You know. So, and I spent 4 years in New York City and 2 years in LA, just finding myself and feeling anonymous. Is such power for people that have grown up not really knowing their identity.
Wow.
You can be what you need to be and you can find yourself. And I do feel that I found myself in those experiences.
How long were you in New York for?
4 years.
Nice.
Not long enough. You know, Baz Luhrmann says, stay there, always go to New York, what does he say? But leave before it makes you too hard.
I see.
But I don't
But
feel
why
hard
come
enough.
back? Like if you were enjoying the time there,
so
why
you
come
should
back and then
yeah.
once again come back into the environment that you were running away
to go from being a blank canvas where you can write your own story to coming back to South Africa where your story has been written for you.
Right. Well, not many people know this, but I've been let go twice, and the only difference between me and Roosevelt is that he was let go 3 times. Hopefully my 3rd time isn't about to happen, but I'd have to let go of myself or let myself go. But, you know, it was the crash of 2008, you know, the whole Goldman Sachs and banking world and that, and I was actually retrenched. So it was an interesting time. I broke up with a boyfriend of 6 years, American guy, and I was retrenched, and along with 14 people that day, and I got 2 weeks' notice. Which was very lucky. Yes, because
It's immediate. Just don't come back. Pick your boxes.
No, they're like security will escort you out, and there's Yael, 2 weeks' notice, and I'm like,
And this all happened in the same time
frame.
all happened. Yeah, it was just like boom, boom, boom. And then my best friend's father passed away as well. So I came to South Africa for a visit, and I thought to myself, you know, I haven't been here in 6 years, just for little visits here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe let me spend a bit of time at home. And then I got recruited.
Into surprise, surprise.
And I thought, I'll do a little stint.
Just a
Just
few
a little
months.
stint.
Right.
I'll just do a little stint.
until I decide where I'm going to go.
Until I decide when I go back to New York, blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, 16 years later.
She still hasn't gone back.
And then I met, you know, my child's father, and we then got married, and then I just entrenched myself in South Africa again.
Yeah.
And in 2000, so I worked in the marketing. I was the apprentice to my father.
Nice.
And the joke was, could I get fired? I don't know, you know, like
Maybe test
Donald
that
Trump.
theory.
You just, I did try and test that theory many times. It didn't work, unfortunately, but what should I say, fortunately. And then in 2009, we lost my brother to suicide, unfortunately, and that's kind of where my mental health journey, began. A little bit before that, actually. And my brother worked in the business. And he had made me his alternate director.
Wow.
And I didn't know this. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting on the board. And that's in 2010. Sure. And then we had another interesting, and I don't mean to laugh, and I'm certainly not laughing because it was very tragic and it remains very tragic. But our former CEO, at our 2016 conference, we had our, annual conference where you reward the agents and everyone comes up and gets pictures and you have a blast. He actually was charged of murdering his wife at our convention. Yeah, it's like, what the hell, man? What did I do in my last life, So it was absolutely traumatic. And then all of a sudden, overnight, I was told, are you ready to step into CEO? And I'm like, hell no.
You've just been catapulted from one level to the next.
Yes, because I'm still going back to New York. I'm not even really here.
I'm like, are you looking at, what's it,
Monaghan.
Yeah, I'm looking on my vision board at New York City apartments, living next to Sarah Jessica Parker,
Yes.
like my Sex and the City lifestyle. And here I am offered this, position. First I said, absolutely not. I didn't quite feel ready for it. And then all of a sudden, within a year, I said, if I do this, I've got to get the right team in place.
I like that.
And I equipped myself with, president is only as good as its cabinet.
That's right.
That's reality.
That's right.
So that's why Elon Musk is being recruited, But anyway, we won't go there right now. But yeah, so I got the right team around me. And, there's that Shakespearean quote that some of you are born into greatness, others become great, and some have greatness thrust upon them. I know, right? I just got chills, and that's what happened to me. And all of a sudden, I'm the only woman in a male-dominated industry. It used to be back in the day, when my grandmother was around and Pam Golding was around, these strong, powerful women in real estate. And I'm still the only female leader out of the top brands. Sure. And it's male-dominated. I'm the youngest. I'm the chairman's daughter, so there's that nepotism.
Nepo baby! Nepo baby.
Nepo baby, I like that. I've never heard that before. I like that a lot. And here I am. It's a technical recession. A terrible recession. And we're just recovering from a terrible PR incident that happened in our brand. I had to build the integrity back of our brand, and it was a very traumatic time, and here I am, and my son was 4 at the time, and I'm a single mom, and it was just like, okay, let's do this. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes when the odds are stacked against you, you just go. And I wasn't really, at first, there's that expression, fake it till you make it.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And I believe in making it without faking it, because I did, and that's what my keynote's about, as you know. And I didn't step into authentic confidence until after a while. I started wearing ties like an idiot.
To fit in with the boys.
To fit in with the boys.
Let me not laugh, because I also have a photo online where I'm in a tie and a suit jacket.
No, listen, I looked really good. And you can look very sexy in ties, but after wearing the fit...
It was the reason behind the ties.
Yeah, the reason was I leaned into filters rather than foundations, and that's the whole world of social media, isn't it? What you see, the facade. And then after wearing the 5th or 6th tie, I was just like, Yael, you look like such a schmuck. Like, you just look ridiculous. Do you know what I mean?
What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then I decided, I don't need to prove to others that I deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. And I turned to my foundations instead. And that's what I teach in my talk, is how to lean into those foundations, and how we all have a crisis of confidence. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but
We'll bleep it out. Go ahead, girl.
Well, we'll leave it out. But COC, a COC. If I say it out loud, it's cock, right? But it's a crisis of confidence. It's not what you're thinking of.
I was thinking crisis of confidence.
Of course you were. Of course you were. We all were. And then we lean into sometimes fake and facade and false. And it's really about resourcing yourself. So I went and I got a mentor. I started doing networking, educating myself more. And I didn't worry about what others thought of me. You know, there's that saying, those that didn't think she could do it, she went and did it anyway.
Yes.
And that's really what I went and did. And after a certain amount of time, the proof was in the pudding. I was winning awards. I was putting myself, you know, first and putting my hand up for everything. I have an expression that say yes to everything until you can afford to say no.
Like that.
I know, right?
Quotables, honey, quotables.
And, you know, amazing things happened along the way. All these business awards, TEDx talk, you know, wanted to tell my story and all of that. But, and here I am, and I've been CEO for 8 years, going on 9 years. And, you know, it's a tough job. I'm still surrounded by men in leadership. When I first came to the table, it's like they didn't know how to deal with me. I was like the little girl on the playground, and I'm like, play with me, play with me. You know, like they're passing a ball, and then they don't pass it to you. And yeah, it's been a journey, hey? It's been a journey. But the unfortunate thing about, you know, taking on a position like this and being a CEO and being a single mom and managing all these aspects, this idea of balance is a myth.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I'm not a superwoman. I'm a mere mortal.
Such a crazy expectation on women to be the boss at work and be a superhero mom and all of that.
When I get asked by publications, how do you maintain the balance of work life? I'm like, honey, there ain't no such thing. There just ain't, you know? And then it does lead to burnout at times. And, you know, I have my own mental health journey. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2. And the
#me too.
Yeah, hashtag bipolar 2. Hashtag mental 2. Yeah, I mean, we've had our own journeys. We've chatted about it. And it's there's the ups and the downs, and when you're in that up phase, you're creating, you're productive. I can do in one day 3 weeks of work. You know, you really can. But then ultimately you crash.
Yeah.
And it's about managing that. And burnout is real.
Yeah. You know how we often joke about the fact that if you rely on Dr. Google, you'll be confirmed for every diagnosis, disease, condition under the sun. But I must say it was actually thanks to an Instagram reel that said, you know, if you have difficulty sleeping, have difficulty paying attention, you know, every time someone speaks and that last word you turn into a song, you may have ADHD. I went to see a psychiatrist because I thought, well, let me get ADHD meds because these are my symptoms. Child, they were like, you've got bipolar type 2 CC and clinical depression, and you need a therapist immediately, and you need medication immediately. And you can tell really there's an ADHD, you can tell there's a condition here. But what I'm saying is, thanks to that little action of saying, these symptoms, let me get them checked out, my whole life changed.
No, I can absolutely agree with you there, Sam, and it was good of you to check because according to the Profmed Stress Index, educators, healthcare professionals are some of the most stressed people in the industry. Whether it's due to long hours, burnout, everything, just layers on layers on layers. Exactly. So, you know, prevention is better than cure in these cases.
And Profmed caters for you to take those preventative actions, to go and see specialists, to say, hey, I think something's going on, right? So do yourself a favor. I thank my 2024 Samke February for taking that action. And I thank Profmed for covering all the therapy that I'm going through. I love you.
There's a lot of it around like just proving yourself because, I mean, you went from New York dreams and you were catapulted into this executive position by default, not because you were applying, catapulted into the next position. Was there ever a time where you felt like, I can't take stock of what's happened to me? I've deferred so far from my dream and now it's just layers on layers on layers on layers. Was there ever a time where you just said, and like, I need to prove to everybody that I can do this, but I also haven't had a chance to come up for air?
Do I even want to do this?
Yes.
I'm still asking the question. No, you know what? I love my network. I mean, we have 500 agents around the country and, you know, many offices, and I have a kinship to my people. I love them, and I love our franchisees, and real estate is such a dynamic business. You never know what you're going to get.
Yep.
It's affected by so many facets, like the economy, the interest rate, what's happening in the world, politics. So it's never the same. But where I found my voice was I was able to use this platform in order to do the things that I love.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's the idea that, you know, credibility and likability aims towards authentic confidence. And I think my leadership style is incorporating both of those and to lead from a place of authentic confidence. And sitting here today is what fills my cup, telling my story, because personal branding is key. You know, and like you will say, I mean, we have to self-promote. We have to have a personal brand in the world. But how do you do it without making yourself and others cringe? You know,
absolutely. And
you
still need to draw in the new business.
Exactly.
And those people are all on Instagram.
And how do you do it? You know, you mentioned the publication said how to maintain balance. That's a form of media. That's a form of influence. That's a form of comparison. And you know, Joe, you know, you're a leader in your own right. So not only are you a CEO of an influencer management agency, but also you are creating these narratives. You're seeing these narratives, and there is a dark side to social media, and there is a dark side to there's healthy competition, but then there's a dark side to competing against these unrealistic expectations. We went from being in a class of 30 people in a class where, you know, your parents want you to be top 3 in the class. Now, okay, there's my earring. And now you're in a class of like 20,000 because you're consuming, you're following people on LinkedIn, you're following people on Twitter, you're following people. And how do we consume, or how do we participate in a healthy way in social media, as not only as leaders putting out information and showcasing our accolades, but also as consumers? Because I know, as much as people can think, oh, Samke, you're doing so well, girl, you found your groove. There's people I look at where I'm like, but seriously, God, I'm still on 33,000 followers after 7 years of Instagram. if you don't want me, just say so. Yeah. You know, so how do we, because it plays with your mind.
It does. No, and I mean, it's also quite overwhelming as well, because now there's so many channels, and exactly, I like what you said, that you're not just competing with the people in your class or the people in the world. You know, you're competing with thousands of others. And it's all about, I quite like it when people, we've got the latest trends in influencer marketing that's just recently come up, like trends for the year. And it's all about be authentic, be yourself. And it's, but don't really.
But what does that mean when I'm consuming?
It's such a fine line.
It's such a fine line. But I think one of the things I love about what I do is that it provides opportunity.
Yes.
Right? Because the barrier to entry to become a creator and influencer is very low. You know, of course. It's literally one video influencer. Yeah, but being an influencer is your, you know, back in the day we used to call it by word of mouth marketing. Exactly. So if I tell you something, you're looking for a shade of lipstick, and I'll tell you, oh, you've got to go here, and this MAC, and this.
How the ruby woos
you go, and because your friend told you, influencer marketing is exactly the same. It's just online. So now someone you don't know is telling you the shade of lipstick that, but it's faster, and it's a lot faster as well, right? So that part of influencer marketing, brilliant. It's sharing information. It's plugging people with the latest places to go to in your area, outside of your area. It definitely is aspirational. So a lot more young people are wanting to travel and are traveling, which is great. The dark side of that is sometimes people do things to be able to
do that.
Allow themselves to go travel or do, you know, that's not always ethical. Yeah, sure, etc. So that's a dark side, because they feel pressure. Because the other thing I think that people also don't realize, when you're a creator or an influencer, you're working on your own. You're not working with a team.
There's no team.
There's no team. So the doubts that you have, you battle with it on your own. You know, because you've created this facade or this life almost on social media that you've got to work hard at to maintain.
It's also my brand,
but there's no one else that you can, you know, chat with and brainstorm. And I mean, I love what you said earlier, that when you decided to take the position, you wanted the right team behind you. Creators and influencers don't have that. You know,
It must be such a lonely
it's
life.
incredibly lonely. And I mean, and I didn't realize how lonely it was until I started my festival, my influencer festival. Because the reason why I wanted to start it was just to drive and make the category a lot more professional. Because it does lead to job creation.
Yes.
And a lot of young people who are influencers have never worked in a formal environment, so they don't know marketing. They don't know the role that they play as influencers in the marketing channel, you know, but they wanted access to brands. They needed access to photographers and videographers. They were quite pricey, and they need access to spaces where they can shoot content. So that's then what we created at the festival. What happened with the first one in 2023, because we're 2025, Laya, 2023, was it was the first time. So some of these guys had collabed during COVID.
Lockdown.
Never met them.
Yes, because the challenges were
met
all
each other.
virtual and
Exactly. So at the festival, they could meet each other for the first time. So it then became this big networking between influencers and creators.
So you're not alone.
Exactly. And they could actually like share notes and brainstorm and, you know, talk about the challenges, you know, talking about what should my rate card look like, you know, where can I get an agreement that I could send to a brand, you know, what should an invoice look like? So there's a lot of the other stuff that we take for granted. Do you think just Google it, you download it? And similar spies don't actually have that.
I'd like to know, do content creators come together and ever create content together, or is it not?
No, only if it's with a brand and you know that, okay, there's 5 of you that work with that brand, and then the brand takes you where you shoot the content together. So it's like co-creation.
Right.
It doesn't happen often. It's one of the trends that I definitely would want to push in this year, because I think co-creation with a brand and also with each other just leads to almost like a healthier platform for everybody.
Yes.
Because it's almost like then you know how you have a friend that's going to keep you honest. It's going to say,
Yes.
I don't think you should be doing it.
Yes.
You know, that gives you advice about your makeup or your outfit and boys, people that you see, you know. We need that
I need
environment.
the community to help them balance out.
Exactly.
And social media-
That's what I'm trying to push.
And social media is actually maturing. You know, as you're speaking, like, I know you started the influencer. We were speaking about this earlier that, you know, Samke, you know, next influencer festival, we want you to be involved. You're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I said, you know, yes, I see the creators. Yes, I see the influencers. But you know what I'm seeing a rise of? Professionals. Promoting themselves on social media and building their own brands. And I'm seeing employers relaxing social media policies and saying we want you to actually, because you are the primary custodian of the brand. And so, Yael, girl, I mean, I know you're on and off and on and off. Are we going to see more of you on social media?
Yeah, I use LinkedIn very seriously, and I recommend it for any professional.
Right.
And you know better than me, but there's different stories and audiences that you share. So on Instagram, I'm quite playful. Because
that's the platform, right?
And I'm genuine, and I will show you my personal trainer killing me at a workout and me lying on the treadmill, huffing and puffing and saying, never ever cancel a session with your personal trainer, because this is what happens the next time. You know, and it's so funny because I post these things and I always think, I think to myself, is anyone ever going to see them?
Yes.
And I don't really care, because it's part of who I am.
And those are the posts that do the best.
It's so funny.
The ones where you don't.
It is. It's genuine and it's real. And like, I love watching Richard Branson like jump in the pool and get up to tricks and whatever. And you get to see the person behind this great
big,
company. And it's always those kind of posts where people come to me and say, you are hilarious, you know? And then I mix it with very inspirational quotes and, you know, and stories that have inspired me or can empower women. And my goal is to empower women in real estate, because, like I say, there's not many leadership positions that women are taking.
So you are an influencer.
You are! That's what I've been trying to tell you for a year. Come.
And be it 5 people or 50 people, you are influencing.
Okay, so I can actually refer to myself. I would never.
Can I tell you something that I've noticed about high value individuals. They'll see your content, but they won't engage.
Oh, yes.
Then when they meet you face to face,
they'll be like,
they'll say, I love what you did there. And you're like, and then you go to so you're like, I'm checking my likes, I'm checking my comments, and I don't see you.
No, it's zero.
You know? So I feel that there's a space, and it is the time to use these platforms, especially as leaders, especially as people with value, to showcase that value and to provide a counter narrative. Because if there's only one narrative of this is how you get to, fly business class, this is how you get to travel by having a scandal that breaks out on Twitter, that actually you've got this rich man behind you, then what are we saying to everyone behind us? We're saying that if there isn't a counter narrative, then that is the only way. But if you've got accomplished people, professional people who are putting out content to say, here I am on a business trip and I'm on business class and it's because I'm an executive, it's like, now I've got a choice. Now I can choose to be a sugar baby, or I can choose to work my way to executive level where I'm flying business class. But now professionals will say, oh, it's cheesy, it's cringe. No, it is necessary.
Yeah, because you are 100% right. And that's the conversation I had with my team. Like, I don't understand it. What you're doing is that false narrative. All we're doing is we're amplifying it.
Correct.
And wouldn't you rather, and I mean, I'm a mom of a girl and a boy, right?
Yes.
My daughter's 8 years old, and I am stressing about how I'm going to raise her
in this
environment that's going to be even 10 times worse when she's 13, 14. Never mind 18.
Yeah.
How am I then going to guide her? And I think my core lesson to her is going to be, if you're not paying for it yourself, you don't deserve it. And then a lot of the youngsters will look at me and like, what is someone else wants to pay for it? It's like, and my husband has a great a narrative with regards to that. It's like, nothing in life is free. There's a transaction. You think you're getting it for free.
What is it costing you?
It's an exchange for something. So nothing in life is actually free. That business class trip, it's not free.
Yes, somehow, somewhere,
It might not be a physical exchange, but there isn't a transaction.
Either your skills, either your time, either your brand name.
And that's the other thing.
when I
people,
think,
people assume that, being a CEO is so glamorous and I have a jet.
Yes, ready to go.
Where is it?
I became friends with you because I thought you had a jet. You don't have a jet?
No, I don't have a jet.
Let's change this thing.
Must I leave? But it's like, I actually live very humbly. And I rather spend my money on holidays and experiences with my child. I don't have to drive the fanciest car. I don't have, and we live in an era, in Mad Men, the Mad Men era back in the day, everything was about luxury and excess and whatever. And it's quite refreshing when you see a leader or an inspirational person just getting real and actually living either humbly or sharing with you where they spend their money or, because it creates these unrealistic expectations. My son, he's 11, and when he was about 7, he said to me, Mommy, I want to be a YouTuber. And I was like, okay, why? Because then so many people will subscribe. Why?
Okay.
And then I'll get so many likes. And what does that mean? And he looks at me and he goes, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to be a YouTuber.
You've gone to the core
because
of why do you want to do this
why? Like, why? Are we living for likes? Are we living for, it's really fake and it's very sad. For our children, this is a very hectic time with social media.
Yeah.
Very hectic time.
And just to lean on your point, for me, when I look at content creators, to an extent, I'm a content creator because I documented my weight loss journey on YouTube and it went viral.
Wow.
I often think to myself, because I've worked a corporate job and I've done a little bit of the creation side, but I think to myself, what possible stress could you have? What possible burnout you have? Have you ever sat at a desk from 9 to 5? Have you told your boss, I need a report by 5? No, you're just there. To me, and maybe to even other people who observe them, they think this looks like a fun job. What possibly could be stressing you out?
Yes.
And so because you're in the game, maybe you know better. How does burnout and stress look like for someone who's perceived as they're having a good time all the time?
Yes.
Because it's a full-time job. And that was the theme of our first festival, because a lot of people, not just because the barrier to entry into that environment is low, but also they think, oh, it's glamour, I go and I dress,
Speed, camera.
find a cute little spot and, you know, and then that's my job. No, you've got to reach out to brands. You've got to have your target list, which are the brands that I want to work with, and then start reaching out to them and saying, yeah, email. You've got to create a media kit. You've got to think about what your rates are. Then you've got to find a videographer, photographer that's affordable enough to
For
then
you to
shoot
make
content.
and make the margin to live.
Exactly. And then you've also got to know your stats.
Yeah.
You know, who am I actually speaking to? Is this going to resonate with my audience or not? You know, so and you've got a dual job as a creator. You've got to resonate with the brand and you've got to resonate with your audience. Because also what happens as influencers grow, they become bigger. They stop having a conversation with their audience and really knowing what their audience want to consume.
So true.
And they just start
Just chasing campaigns.
Yeah, they speak at them.
Tomorrow, today it's soap, tomorrow handy Andy, following day, dishwashing liquid. We're like, sis, all you're doing is just washing. When have you eaten? You used to eat. Now we are just cleaning. The whole month of January we're cleaning. And it's inauthentic.
And they forget that they started because of their great storytelling. And that's also another thing that I love about, I mean, as Africans, we are great at storytelling. You know, there's so many stories in Africa, you know, specifically in South Africa. So, and a lot of great creators and influencers start from storytelling. Just start telling a story of their family, or I went to the shop today, and it's just the way that the story is told. There's got more people.
Oh my God, I want to see the next episode.
And then tomorrow they talk about sunlight. It's like, but where's the story? Like now, like you say, every day, 5 days a week, it's sunlight.
We are keening.
We are cleaning every day.
All of that,
You know, and it's
definitely sounds stressful if you put
no,
it like that.
incredibly stressful. It's also, remember, it's not a salary that you get every month. You're always chasing. You've got to chase brand deals. You've got to, and that's the other thing that my festival tries to teach, besides the networking, the workshops that we have, is how do you, if you're on this platform, how do you monetize the platform? You know, because yes, you're telling your story and you've got great content skills, but you can now make money on YouTube, for example, while you sing. If you've got enough views, if you've got enough likes, you've got enough subscribers, etc. So that's the thing. It's once you have enough of that, you've built a brand. And business. And you then generate additional streams.
Do you feel like they're more prone to burnout because if you take a leave of absence, there's no money?
No, emotional
Whereas
burnout.
like a salaried employee, so it's more emotional.
It's more emotional. It affects your mental health.
I'm sure
Because
the
remember,
comments
you've
as
got
well,
to exactly, because also you're living for likes, but also the likes impacts your engagement.
And your money.
And it impacts your rate.
And it impacts your rate.
Your rate is determined by your engagement.
So how many people like or how many people comment, and the type of comment will impact the brand deal that you get. So it'll impact your income. And it's incredibly stressful.
And
I say
Take a day off.
but you're also never off. See,
well, no, I told you I did a bit of a digital detox now and then, because I thought to myself, I'm on holiday. Why am I showing my holiday? Why I must be on holiday? Like, this is ridiculous.
But as a CEO, like in real life, not saying, digital entrepreneurship is not real life, but as a CEO of physical human beings and a physical business, do you feel like you're always on? Like you always have to show up?
I always do show up. That's something that I promise to myself and to my organization. I do show up, but showing up involves 44 flights around the country and can lead to burnout. And that's the side that isn't glamorous, and that's the side I also want to teach people that it's tough. But my favorite YouTube clip is, and I love this because I think we don't celebrate our wins enough.
Right.
And what we do is we self-inflate the stuff that doesn't matter, like the humble bragging, the virtual signaling, hashtag blessed, I'm so humble.
Unboxing.
Yeah, I mean, I was at an award show And, all these women alongside me and myself got this really lovely award, Women of Wonder Panache Award.
Nice.
And we all went up and we had to say a few speeches and everyone was humbled and blessed and this and this and that. And I just wanted to vomit. And then I went up, actually, and I quoted in the words of Snoop Dogg.
Oh!
Because,
okay, girl.
D-O-double-G.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw, he did on the Hollywood Walk of Fame when he got his star. Do you remember this? He says, I would like to thank me.
Yes.
I'd like to thank me for my hard hours, for the weekend sacrifices, for not taking holidays, for taking breaks from family. And I actually emulated Snoop Dogg and did this. And I said, ladies, you are so much better than hashtag humbled and privileged. And, like, would you ever see Nelson Mandela use hashtag humbled?
Never.
Like, that's the reality. And we're diminishing ourselves and we're leaking insecurity. And that's, kind of the balance is you show up, but you have to show up from an authentic way. I also think that word has been overused, but I would use real or genuine, you know?
Yeah. Ladies, our time is up. Can you believe we've been talking for close to
and we're just getting started.
I know, we could go on and on and on. But I think what I love most about this conversation is we've had actually a very real conversation. We've gone from dreams, visions, identity crisis, having greatness thrust upon us, having to show up, the future of actually careers, the future of your job security. Like, what does it mean for you if there's this army of young people rising and actually engaging with your future customer directly? You can have as best a brand as our fees are this, our commissions are that, we help you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if Samke is the voice they listen to, and Samke says, go to the red agency and not the blue agency, you know what I'm saying? So how do we become custodians of our influence?
And add value.
And add value using that influence.
Because that's actually what people want. They just want the value.
They just want value. Yeah. And so
to not burn out.
As we close, be healthy in your consumption of social media. Not everything is true. Be healthy even in your consumption of LinkedIn. I mean, there was a big deputy president of this association where they found out that he had falsified his qualifications. And I'm talking about a serious association. So just apply a little bit of intelligence when you're consuming this. And just remember to be you. Honestly, the race and the competition is against you and the woman in the mirror and the dreams and goals you have for yourself. So from burnout to social media to sugar babies to properties on vision boards and everything in between, I've loved this conversation because it's felt like a coffee with my big sisters, and it's the best kind of mentorship that one can get. And I hope you guys continue to showcase what you've shared here. Please package and showcase. And you, Jolene. And you manage yourself, manage your influence, Jolene, and showcase for people perhaps like us who are not native digital influencers, but are realizing or even stuck, feeling like, what do I do with this world of social media? Do I show up? Do I not? Is it professional? Is it not? And how do I do that in a healthy way and provide a valuable counter narrative in the digital world for our children?
I thought that brands always approach these influencers. I didn't realize influencers approach brands.
Yeah, so it goes both ways. The most of the time, there's so many.
I'll help you with a proposal to Boeing. We need a jet, girl.
Girl, from your mouth, and then I will arrive in style. But I'll have my entourage. I'll say, listen, I don't go anywhere without my entourage.
Thank you.
So you're part
Can
of
we get
entourage.
a little toast? Cheers.
Cheers.
To the jet.
To the jet. To the jet.